Hey guys, Ken Smith Fishing. So this is a video. I've gotten a number of questions because of an old video, actually because of the video I posted right there about Google Earth, because guys are trying to do some of that work and they're finding they can't find the timestamp how to go back in time on that. So I'm going to show you that here in the first couple minutes of this video, and then I'm going to come back at the end of this video and I'm going to update you on the Great 10 boat search. I want to just share with you the boats I've found so far and the boats I'm still looking for, and continue to ask you guys for your help on that. So let's go check out the Google Earth video, a bit of footage here, and then I'll circle back and we'll talk about our boats right here at the end. By the way, it's year end. This is what my desk looks like, blowing my nose, kids at my desk, Bigfoot. I mean, it's crazy right now, but year end. So let's check out this video and I'll be back at the end and talk about the boats. So this is the browser version. You just go to your browser, you type in Google Earth, but what you're going to see is what we have all used historically and what I talked about in my first video as far as a tool for researching a lake is the ability to look at historic images. And what you're going to find is you simply cannot do that on the browser version of Google Earth. You have to do this. You have to go back to that Google Earth, and you have to click on your download button, and when you click download on it, I'll show you what you come up with. Okay guys, so what you want to do is you want to download Google Earth Pro to your browser. See my icon right there? That's going to open up a Google Earth Pro that will now will sit on your desktop as opposed to sitting in the sky. So we're going to go in here, we're going to say let's fly into Zavala, Texas, Whole World Headquarters, Ken Smith Fishing. And we zoom in. And we say, there's beautiful Zavala, Texas. Let's run down the road here, down 147 to the bridge. Let's go run around Calhoun Point. Let's run past Mud, and let's get here to the forest, and there's a spot out here. Actually, I'm going to cheat that off. I'm going to delete that. And by the way, that's nothing there. That's actually where I reshot this video earlier. Okay, so now we've got Rayburn. Yeah, there's somebody running across the lake there. Somebody running across the lake there. We're up at 25,000 feet, so we're going to zoom in a little bit, get a little closer to the water. But all we can see is water. So what we want to do is we're going to look at some historical imagery. So what we've clicked on is that icon right there. It's a clock with a counterclockwise arrow, and that's going to give us this little bar right here. And you see the last imagery shot for the lake was September of 19, and I just know from doing this in the past I want to go back to November of 2011, and that is that imagery right there. So that is a much shrunken mud creek, the point, the island out in front of Mud. By the way, I was sitting right there fishing one day, and I heard a noise up on the island. May have been a Bigfoot, but I watched 12 deer run from that island, swim across that little channel of water, run up on the bank right there. So that little island holds a whole bunch of deer. Anyway, so now, by the way, I believe, I've got it written down somewhere, I believe this footage or this imagery, I believe November of 11, the lake was 10 feet or 11 feet low. I want to say it was in the low 150s. If anybody remembers that for sure, please post a comment. I kind of dug around trying to find it and I couldn't, but so, all right, so say I wanted to find that point right there. So the river's right out here. So say I want to take a look at that point right there. What I'm going to do is I'm going to zoom way, way in there. And obviously the closer you get, the more accurate your waypoint's going to be. And there's 3 big stumps sitting right there on that break. Now remember, well, the lake right now is about 3 feet low. So let's just say it was 12 feet low then, those stumps right there are going to be 9 or 10 feet deep right now. So say I want to fish those spots. And by the way, if you think about it, we've talked about this in prior videos. You're looking for hard spots. Well, any of that river current is going to move from the top of the picture down towards the dam, and it's going to sweep the sand off the top of that clay, and it's going to make a lot of this, what you can see right there, really rough bottom. There's no sand. I mean, there's a little bit of sand in there, but mostly that's rough bottom. So say I want to mark that spot so I can come back and fish that spot later. All you want to do is you want to go up here, you want to click on it, and you want to drop a pin on it. Okay, now, once you drop the pin, it's going to tell you the longitude and the latitude. Now, what I'll tell you is, a lot of times it'll pull up like that, where you can't see your pin. And if you do this, and you close it, whoops, sorry about that, and you say, okay, that pin is now in a fixed location and cannot be moved, all right? So what you really want to do is you want to delete it. And let's say I click right there, so I miss it a little bit, or a lot of times it actually will miss where you have your cursor set up. You want to move it out of the way, and now you can actually drag that, and you'll see the coordinates change over there on the left. See the coordinates changing. You can drag that and drop it right on top of your spot, and now you've got that waypoint. Now, another key here is, and I've had guys call me about this as well, a lot of times that latitude longitude will not line up with what your Garmin, Lowrance, or Humminbird units say, or whatever other units you might be running. So what you want to do is you want to go in here to Tools. You want to drop down to Options. You hit the drop down, and over here you can change the different the way it illustrates the different latitude longitude. Now, I know you probably can't see it down here, but it says 3111 738 north. That's in degrees decibel minutes. If you switch it to degrees minutes seconds, it's going to change the way that looks down there. So what you got to do is, and it's real easy to do, you just pull a waypoint off your unit, search for it on here, and if it doesn't match up, you just got to figure out which one you're using. But you want to make sure when you do this that whatever mode or whatever way it's reading that waypoint matches what you have your unit set up on. You right click it, show me the properties. You can now take that latitude longitude, drop it in a waypoint on your unit, and you can go right to these spots that you find. And for those of us that don't get to spend a ton of time on the water, there is not a faster way to pre-fish or a way to make your pre-fish time more effective than to come in here and just find spots. And look at this spot right here. I fished this spot. I'll show it to you. So there's that roadbed. Actually, it's a roadbed that runs out across mud. And look what it does in this little slough over here. Or actually in this little drain. Roadbed runs across and goes across that drain. Now, a lot of guys will say, well, so you see there's a high spot, a little drain in between, and a good drain over here. So it runs across that drain there. It also runs across that drain right there. Now, a lot of guys will say, well, there's no bridge there. Well, I got news for you. You don't necessarily need a bridge, because what you'll find is when those loggers would go in here and make these roads to cut that timber out of there, a lot of times in those low spots, so they didn't get bogged down, they'd come in there and they'd push a load of gravel or push a load of rock in there. So they made basically hard spots in some of these drains with that gravel or that rock. So that's always something you want to look at. There's another one right there. Even if there's not a bridge or an actual, even if it was just a dirt road, a lot of times your hardest spots on those dirt roads are the lowest spots, because guys dump rocks on them, or loggers dump rocks on them, so they wouldn't get stuck in there. So those are the answers to the couple of questions I've had from Google Earth recently that I hope you guys find helpful. Hey guys, I'm sorry, I'm going to slip this in right here before we go to the boat review. I just talked to Taylor at Jones Stroller Motor, and they ran this special 2 or 3 weeks ago, and they sold it out. They have, when I talked to them this afternoon, they have 8 more units on this. So it's a 1242 XSV Plus and a live scope transducer. It's $37.99. They have a $200 rebate available from Garmin, and if you mention Ken Smith Fishing, they'll knock another $100 off of it. And by the way, if y'all haven't heard this, I have heard now from multiple sources that a lot of electronics, and I'm not going to name brands, but a lot of electronics are about to increase in price. So if you've been thinking about electronics, I would pull the trigger sooner rather than later, because I think what's happening is this whole supply chain thing's backed them up, and they've figured out, heck, if we make something, we can sell it for more money because there's so much demand. So this is probably, now I don't have a crystal ball, but this is probably going to be one of the better deals you can get for a while on that quality of a live scope unit. So now let's jump back over and I'll talk to you about the boat search. Okay, so far the only boat we've done has been the G3. And by the way, guys, I apologize. I know I said I was going to get the Todd Driscoll footage up. But we had a little bit of issue at Rayburn, and Todd and I weren't able to connect. We're going to try to get rescheduled real soon and get that up. I'm not sure when that's going to happen, but I promise you I'm doing my best to try to get that video up for you. So, all right, right now, we've done the G3. I may do another G3 as well, a boat that's loaded, so I can kind of see one that somebody's got all their tackle and got a little bit of wear and tear on it. I've got a couple of trackers identified. Probably the one I'm going to look at is Kyle's 195 TXW, because he can meet me here at Texoma, which is close by. Right now, I've had several guys, I've had several guys reach out that have Expresses, but most of them have the 21-foot Express, and I'd really like to look at a 19-footer. There is I believe it's a 20-footer in Grandview. Actually, I don't know what boat that is. I got to circle back to him. That's a guy off the fishing forum that's got an Express that he said I can look at. Grandview's not too far away. So we'll look and see what model that is. On the Vexus, we've got two boats, one in Louisville, one down close to Rayburn. I believe they're both AVX 1980s. I'm not sure the year models. We'll look at one or both of those boats. I've got a couple of Rangers in that RT 188 or the 188P boats that we want to look at. No polar crafts. Nobody's reached out with a polar craft yet. There's a Lund 1875 Renegade down in Georgetown. That's a long ways for me to go. If I could find one closer, I'd love to, but if not, we'll try to make a Central Texas trip. I'll probably try to wrap that into a business trip in Austin in January to do that one. What else do we got? We've got a bunch of Crestliners. I think we're good there. I've got a VT19, and then the guys at Boatworks in Fort Worth basically said, tell us what you want to look at and we'll get you hooked up. Believe it or not, I still don't have a low. I am going to look at a Triton 178 down at Rayburn because a guy's got one down there. I've not heard from anybody with a Limacraft nor a Havoc. Now, I had a phone call the other day with the guy that owns or runs Havoc, and we talked for just a minute. He said he'd call me back. I hadn't heard back from him. It's year end. I'll circle back with him at the beginning of the year and talk to him a little bit more, and I'm sure he can help me find a Havoc owner down here somewhere. A Sea Arc. I've got a Stealth 186 over in Louisiana. That's a couple of hours from Rayburn. I'd love to find one closer, but if not, we'll shoot over in Louisiana. And same way, this is interesting. I've had two guys reach out with Abbots, and they're both in Louisiana. So I probably will make a day or two trip into Louisiana and try to do a couple of those boats. And then I have caught up with David Gillum here in the Dallas area, who's in a Gator Tracks. So we'll do that boat. Now, I believe he's going to be running the big Bass Strike series, which is their more expensive model. If anybody else has a Gator Tracks in a less expensive, not a duck boat, but something that's got raised platforms to fish off of, I'd love to look at that as well. So right now, what I'm still trying to find is a small Express, Polar Craft, a Low, a Limacraft, a Havoc, and then any of those boats that I said were a long distance away. If you have one or know somebody that has one a little bit closer, I'd love to talk to them as well. So that's my update. By the way, we got a little bit of rain at Rayburn over the last a few days ago. The lake been falling. It peaked back up a little bit. It got back just above 161, and now it's starting to come back down again. From what I'm talking to my guys down there, the water temperature yo-yos. It cools off for a few days, and then we get these warm fronts, and it warms right back up. It's going to be 80 here in Dallas on Christmas. I guess it'll be warmer than that down there, so we'll be fishing in shorts down there over Christmas if anybody fishes. So it's going to be a strange year. You still got to think, anything that gets one in January or February is going to be one offshore. I just don't see there's just not enough grass to catch them shallow. Now, you might catch them up on some shallow points, dragging, or catching some fish trying to move up and spawn earlier if it stays real warm. But or staged up, not necessarily spawning. There's a lot of bait fish shallow, but I still think to catch any size, you have to be out there deep. So that's just my 2 cents on Rayburn right now. We'll be down there next week, putting up some footage for you guys, practicing hard for the BFL the first week of January. So thanks for tuning in, and thanks for the help with the boat search. We're going to do some boat reviews, hopefully over the holidays, and have some more of that footage up for you guys early in the year. Thanks, guys. We'll see you soon.